Liam Lawson's debut has gone horribly wrong, and even though the team could have done a bit better with their tactics, there's no doubt that the Kiwi driver has left a lot to prove in the following races. After a tough qualifying session, there was a good chance for Lawson to go through the pecking order as 3 drivers retired from lap 1, but he failed to capitalise on it and became one of the 4 rookies who retired from the race. But after Horner's latest statement, can we slowly but surely believe that maybe the team needs to give Tsunoda a chance? And if not, how much time does Lawson have to prove himself in Red Bull? There's no question about the biggest disappointment in Melbourne in terms of individual performance: Liam Lawson. Throughout the entirety of the weekend, the driver had his own struggles, but we believed that he could have had an extraordinary recovery race, as he's proven last year in Austin that he can cover massive ground when it matters the most. But here in Australia, the New Zealander was all but competitive, and being lapped by your own teammate is what eventually brought the end of Gasly's tenure in Red Bull back in 2019. When talking about the race in general, Lawson was adamant that the mistake is nowhere to be looked at but in himself and his driving. As he went on to elaborate, "There are not many positives to take away, honestly. I'm just looking forward to going to China and resetting. It's something that I've been through plenty of times before in my career, and fortunately, we have just a few days off. So obviously, trying to do the sprint weekend is going to be tough in itself, but I'm just excited to go into another weekend." Furthermore, Lawson has gone on to say that there weren't any discrepancies between him and the team, because they were on the same page. It's just that he took a risk with the dry tyres and believed he could be a bit longer on them, and it didn't work out at all. Elaborating on the strategy further, he added, "No, me and the team were on the same page. We wanted to take a risk. We shared that gamble together. But I was just apologising for putting the car on the wall. This weekend sucks. We took a chance, hoping at least half the track would stay dry. We hoped that at least half the track would be dry, and we knew Sector 3 was bad, but we thought Sector 1 would stay drier, so we carried on. Unfortunately, it was bucketing it down with rain. I backed out of pushing at that point because it was so wet. I was just trying to stay on the track. We were really struggling, to be honest. I had a lot of tyre issues with the front early in the race. It's just been a tough weekend." And whether we like it or not, this has been the worst debut that could have happened to Lawson, because not only was he the last starting driver from the Red Bull family, but he was also one of the 2 drivers that didn't finish the race. The other was Hadjar, who made a silly mistake at turn 1. But considering it's his first F1 event, it's somewhat of an excuse that he can pass along with. The same cannot be said for Liam though, who got stuck between 2 Haas drivers and had nothing to show to the F1 world. On the other hand, we had Antonelli's race, a driver who was also kicked out of Q1, but because of mechanical damage on the car's floor, and one who managed to complete a massive recovery race and reach P4, just behind his teammate Russell. This is the kind of performance that Red Bull was hoping Lawson was hiding through his 11 races with Racing Bulls, but that's right now a distant goal that he would need to reach very deep in his pocket to offer the Austrian team. And whether this topic is mentioned, we just have to talk about a potential replacement, as you already know who's happily smiling in his home right now. Even though Yuki failed to score the points in Australia due to the poor tactics of his team, he had an amazing race, keeping Albon and Hamilton behind him for a large portion of the race. Had Racing Bulls done a better job with the changing conditions on the track, Tsunoda could have easily finished in the top 5. But here we are, and Tsunoda's encouraging statement that the team shouldn't feel down because they have a lot of pace goes to show that there is a lot to be proven in the next couple of races. Christian Horner has talked about the poor weekend of Lawson, and as you would expect, he didn't attack the Kiwi driver because they both failed with the strategy. Elaborating further on this, Horner said, "It was a difficult weekend for Liam. We changed the car to put a bit more downforce on the car. It's a very hard track to overtake at. We took the risk of leaving him out because he was outside the points, and we thought, you know what, roll the dice, maybe it'll come right. But that was exactly the point when it started to rain more, so it's difficult to blame him for that. You know, for that last spin, I think the one flash of light that he can take out of it is that on the dry tyres, he actually posted the 2nd fastest lap time of the GP. So I think if there's one positive, we can take that his pace is actually not too bad." When Lawson was promoted to the Red Bull seat, there was always the option that Tsunoda would step in the seat if something was to go horribly wrong with Lawson's debut. Of course, we're not here to spread speculation because one bad race doesn't automatically mean Liam is being considered a bad driver. But a bad start to the season is definitely the omen that he would have wanted to prevent when he has so much pressure on his shoulders. Even before his race, there were statements from Marko and Jos that Lawson should just be close to Verstappen, maybe 3 to 4 tenths of a second and nothing more, because if he tries to beat him, he will fail. But it seems like Liam is far away from that, at least judging from this perspective, and if his form doesn't improve in the following races, Red Bull would definitely consider the switch between him and Tsunoda. They are already in talks with the FIA to receive the super license for Arvin Lindblad to race in Racing Bulls from 2026 onwards, which means that they would either get rid of the Japanese driver or finally give him the long-awaited opportunity. And Tsunoda himself admitted that he hasn't given up on the seat just yet. So, when he went on to talk about the future he has in Red Bull, Yuki added, "I still want that Red Bull seat at some point, but the decision they made, it's up to them, not me." I had like 3 calls from Helmut, Christian and Laurent before the announcement. The first one was from Helmut, so I heard the final decision from them. There's no point in complaining, I just said, "Yeah, I get it." Like, okay, good luck. Pretty much that's it. I've just got to keep doing what I'm doing and my mindset won't change. A very interesting statement was then made regarding what his beliefs are in terms of why Lawson got the promotion over him. Yuki doesn't think that it's related to the performance of the drivers, rather a political reason that put him in the wrong position. Elaborating on this, Tsunoda said, "I didn't really ask why Lawson got that seat over me. I think Christian mentioned it's not about performance. From what I heard from other people, they're saying that it's not performance related. It's more like a political decision. I don't know, maybe Christian didn't really say specifically what the reason was. I didn't care really. Whatever they say, I don't know if that is true or not, to be honest. And in the end, I just told them how I feel, how I'm still motivated for next season, and that's it." As I mentioned earlier in this video, the fact that Lawson was lapped by the leading pack is definitely not what he wants happening in the first place, because this is the primary reason the Austrian team wants to get rid of Perez. The Mexican driver was a huge liability in terms of scoring points, and Verstappen cannot be a one-man team anymore if they want to compete in the Constructors' Championship. Just look at what Mercedes has done with Antonelli, and obviously Ferrari will bounce back from this poor weekend very quickly. So if Lawson doesn't pick up the pace, he might as well put the team in a worse position than they were when they finished last year, P4. Zach Brown is already here to stir things up, and although his statements are kind of meant to be evil and to provoke a bit of anger in Red Bull's camp, this one is kind of built on a solid argument. Elaborating on the lineup in Red Bull, the chief of McLaren raised some questions as to why Lawson got the seat over Tsunoda, further adding, "I think it's going to be a very exciting year. Yuki did a great job. He's probably the guy that should be in the Red Bull seat if you look at how he's performed, but they seem to make some strange choices." With all of this in mind, what do you think about Lawson's poor debut in Australia? And more importantly, do you think he can bounce back during the sprint events in China next week? Let us know in the comments below, and if you want to know more about Hamilton and Leclerc's reactions to Ferrari's disaster class of race strategy, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.